Who else wants to wake up pain-free? Part 3. Try and say that 3 times fast. Hi, welcome. It's Jason Barlow, RMT, and I'm here today as your therapist and as your coach to help you transform any stress, tension, and pain into health, happiness, and vitality. Over the last 3 versions of this particular topic of who else wants to wake up pain-free, we have covered a couple of things. Let me just review those real quick. Number 1, in the first one, I was regarding the fact that for myself as a practitioner, I firmly believe it's more the health of the body upon the bed than it is the health of the bed itself. It's not me saying, new beds don't count towards anything. They do. The age of a bed, yes, that's important. But if you're forever in an agitated state and your muscles, you're not taking care of them by way of regular therapy or regular stretching and movement and so forth, then guess what's going to happen? It's going to be a huge concentration and accumulation of what I call postural debt. And then when you lay down on bed, you wonder why your body's all wound up and it can't relax. Partly it's you more than it is the bed. That's just my perspective. Now, the reason I say that, and you should go back and listen to this in more depth, but in essence, think back to when you were a young child, your muscles were supple and relaxed and healthy. And then when you lay down, it didn't matter where you lay on a couch, you lay in your mom, you lay in the car or wherever, and you slept. And then you woke up and you carried on your day. You didn't think about, oh, my neck is stiff, my back, my hip. You didn't think like that. Why? Because your muscles were in such a state that they were prepared for what you threw at them next. And as we age, if we're not taking care of those muscles, that's where they're going to start alerting us to these imbalances. So consider the health of the body upon the bed more than the bed that you're sleeping upon. And we talked about sleep posture and positioning. And then part 2, I talked about Professor Sapolsky's great research and how it relates to our stress response. That if we have lots of stress in our life, and there's different sources of that, from the foods we eat to the exercise choices, relationships we have, work choices, are we feeling satisfied, satiated, are we happy, healthy, content from the inside outward, our mindset all important from my point of view, then if we don't have those things in good measure and balance, then guess what? We have more stress, tension, and pain. And again, that will pervade you even then when you're trying to rest and restore at night. Maybe you got agitated sleep, you don't sleep deep, you don't sleep well, you're taking medications to help get yourself into a deep sleep. So there's ways and strategies to help overcome that. And this is where we're diving in a bit deeper on part 3 today. So definitely go below in the description. You'll see 2 websites that are listed. One is for the YouTube video, which is I'm teaching you how, or my preferred posture that I recommend for sleeping position. So that's a YouTube video. And then below that is my blog article. And that is related directly to this topic of who else wants to wake up pain-free. And in there, I talk about several recommendations to help you get a better sleep. And I'm just going to cover 3 of those today. If we have more time, then I'll dive through all of them and we're done for this topic of who else wants to wake up pain-free. So first and foremost, be a consistent sleeper in the sense of what time is it that you're going to bed at the end of your day. If it's erratic and all over the map, then guess what? Your physiology will be erratic and all over the map. Your body likes a rhythm. We have a rhythm, believe it or not. It's called a circadian rhythm. The more we deviate away from that circadian rhythm, the more stress, tension, and pain we have, and the harder it is to heal. So that circadian rhythm is all important. There are cycles of sun and cycles of moon. There is lots of cycles, and especially more as a female, there's even more delicate cycles to consider there. But the essence of what I'm trying to share with you here is just be consistent. Find yourself a good rhythm. Now, we are beings generally of a diurnal nature. What that basically means is that we're awake when the sun is up and we're sleeping when the sun is down. Now, we live in such a world now in the 21st century where that's not necessarily the case anymore. Vast majority still, but there's people on shift work and so forth that have different patterns, and it moves their biology and circadian rhythm off what it has evolved partly in their life, but also through all the previous generations of their family heritage. Now, this is something that's been evolving in us human beings for as long as we've been around on this planet. So for us to come along in the last, 50 years, let's say, and we're starting to disturb that circadian rhythm by way of electromagnetic interference, right? We're up later because we have lights. We're staying up later because of technology and entertainment, and we have work that might take us through the night. So because of this, it's disturbing that circadian rhythm. So the more consistent you can be with getting to bed on time, waking up at a certain time, you're getting your allocated sleep quota, then that's going to serve you much better. Now you might be like, well, Jay, I've been doing that for a week and it's not making much of a difference. Well, think about how long you've been off kilter. How long have you been away from that natural circadian rhythm that previously you were probably on, whether it's as a child or as an early adult or mid-adult, whatever age or stage you're at. But I guarantee this, being a parent, whether that's to a pet or to children, or to human children, is we have some level of disturbance that takes place. Or if you've traveled across the globe on different time zones, or if you've been working on shift patterns for many years and now you're not on shift patterns through the night anymore, then it's going to take a period of time. You know, and I heard a lady share with me, she's a nurse yesterday, and she said her seniors that she works with, if I get this correct, for every 1 day that you've been in hospital as a senior, allow at least 1 week of recovery. So if you've been in hospital for 10 days as a senior, 10 weeks to almost a full recovery. And I think there's an element of truth that comes into place with respect to our sleep patterns. If it's been 10 years that your sleep pattern has been askew, I would argue it's going to take not 10 years, but I would say maybe months, 10 months. You know, if you're good with a habit, a pattern, I would throw that. So maybe every year you've been out of a cycle, a good healthy cycle of sleep, I would allow at least 1 month of solid recovery. And that's totally me just throwing that out there right now. It's no research to that. It's just based upon my experience and my knowledge and understanding of the human body. So just give that some thought. And if that applies to you, be patient with yourself. And I'm a big advocate of throwing in naps. Just always have. If that works for you, then you can accumulate more sleep. What should we call it? A dividend, paying off your sleep debt by way of getting in some naps. Now, the next one is sleep duration. By falling asleep and waking up at similar times each day, it'll help you to consistently achieve a suitable duration of sleep. Everyone is fingerprint specific, and this can change month to month and seasonally depending upon the Earth's cycles. So take note of the times of year that you need more sleep or less sleep. So generally speaking, in the summertime now, the amount of time that the sun is up during the day is longer, and our evenings and nighttime is shorter. So typically we have more energy and we generally want to be out in the sun and it's warmer and we're doing activities and so forth outdoors. That raises our energy and it shortens our need for sleep. Now, that's not a golden rule. We're fingerprint specific. So you've got to listen to your body. But again, you've got to become really smart about your body. Nobody's going to be as invested in your body, your mind, as much as you can choose to be. Right now, maybe you're not investing too much. And I'm here to say as your coach that you need to, because nobody's going to come and knock on the door and take full responsibility for your body, your health, your condition, your happiness, and so forth. People might make promises, but I can promise you that they're not going to be as fully invested in your health as much as you are. And you could spend tens and thousands of dollars and hire a coach one-on-one and so forth. I'm trying to save you a bunch of money. Read, spend tens of thousands of dollars on books or audio books, and just invest that time in understanding your biology, your systems, and listen to your body. Even if you don't go buy those books, just listen to what your body is telling you. Anytime you have signs and symptoms, it's an indication of some imbalance. Very often, from my experience, it starts head first. Our imbalances come in the sources of anger, irritation, frustration, depression, and so forth. These are signs that something's not on track. Maybe you're trying to lead the life of somebody else, and that's not the life that you wish to lead if you were to acknowledge and respect and understand what it is that you wish to achieve in this very lifetime. So that goes deeper than that. And then physically speaking, when you have signs and symptoms, these are warning signs from your body that there's an imbalance. Address the imbalance. What is the imbalance? Well, It's a puzzle. And even if people come to see me as a therapist, I'm helping them figure out that puzzle of their body. And yes, granted, I have experience and I have training and so forth that helps me figure out the puzzle a bit sooner. But every person walking in is a fairly unique puzzle. Just when I think I've got it figured out, actually, it's coming from over here instead. And I never even considered that. I've never seen that before. I've never seen it manifest in that way. I'm forever learning too, just as much as you will continue to learn from your body, but you just got to learn to listen to it. So sleep duration, which ties in with the consistent time of going to bed, is a consideration. And the third one, and then we'll finish on this one today, is to reduce the electromagnetic exposure. Ideally, minimum 30 minutes. That's what I go to, is 30 minutes. And I try to read for at least 30 minutes after I've come off those devices. But sometimes it's sooner, and I find I sleep better when it's longer than 30 minutes before I'm going to bed, of removing myself from electromagnetic stimulation. I guess the only source that I'll have is my plugged-in light. If you can go to a battery source, or I don't know, give me some alternatives, then that's going to be a better way to go. Because as soon as we have anything plugged in, right now I've got 2 monitors, I got a light going, I got all these lights around me, I got a printer to my left, I've got a payment machine to my left, and I'm not using it right now, but I have an electric foot warmer down below. That's a huge amount of electromagnetic exposure that I'm receiving. So what is it that we're doing to counter that electromagnetic exposure? The more time we get in the mountains, the more we get away from, we turn off the electromagnetic sources. We ground ourselves. We go barefoot on the planet, ideally on grass or a beach or in the mountains. And I try to do that just as much as I can to help ground, to help mitigate the volume of electromagnetic sources that I'm experiencing on a day-to-day basis. And I try and minimize mine. I'm cognizant of that. There's a lot of people not even aware of that influence upon their biology. There's a great book here. It's called The Body Electric, Robert O. Becker and Gary Selden, which is electromagnetism and the foundation of life. And he talks extensively about the influences of these electromagnetic sources and the impact that it's actually having upon your biology. We essentially are a bioelectric being, and so we are getting disturbances, and interferences, let's call it. And especially, if you take nothing else away from this, but remember this one, is when you lay down to sleep, there's a lot of activity going on in our brain by way of recovery from our day. But if it's receiving sources of electromagnetic interference and from the fields of electromagnetism, from your phone, from computers and TV screens and sources of light and plugins and so forth, all of that is actually affecting your ability to get into a deep sleep. So I highly recommend, at the very minimum, is just consider that. Get them at least, which is impractical for most of us, right? But 20 feet away from your bed, where your head is especially lay down, or just unplug those devices if you don't need them. The bare minimum for me is I have a plugged-in light, and I have my phone, which I turn on airplane, so there's no 3G or cellular interference coming in, no Wi-Fi. It's just literally the battery source, which is pretty minimal. It's when it's plugged in, we're getting that higher voltage of energy. It is going to create a greater disturbance. Okay, I'm going to zip it. I'm going over my time. So join me next week on part 4. That'll probably be it for Wake Up, or who else wants to wake up pain-free. But remember, your muscle health is my number 1 priority. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you found that of benefit. Do remember to give it a thumbs up, a like, a share. If you wish to share a review of some kind, please do that. You can do it in the comments below, or just go on Facebook, Insta, YouTube, wherever you wish. Ideally, even Google is the number 1 source I find for my business these days. But anything to help support, I really, really, truly appreciate it. And I hope you're finding benefit from these podcasts. I'd like to know if they are. I'm finding benefit just from being able to teach this material and gather some ideas of how I can orchestrate some programs moving forward. And that's my plan and proposal, and I'm sticking with it. So thank you.